America. And that's a problem, but this, I think it will change in the long term.
Interesting. All right. So the last quote I'll highlight, this one is from Lacedo Oliveira, who's a Brazilian senator. And this isn't political. I don't know what state he's from or even what political party he's in, but it's an industry I'm fascinated about. And I think it's AgTech is what he's talking about. So here's the quote. The next big trend for the development of our country is to make it self-sufficient in fertilizer. This is a matter of national security. It makes no sense for us to be a major food producer, but dependent on imported fertilizers. To address this problem, the ProFert Fertilizer Industry Development Program is on the agenda in the National Congress, which ensures incentives for investments in projects to deploy, expand, or modernize infrastructure for the fertilizer production and its inputs. The initiative was based on the National Fertilizer Plan and seeks to reduce external dependence, improve the business environment, and attract investment to the sector. So what do you think about AgTech in general? We can talk about fertilizer more specifically if you want, but I took that to mean how important it is for Brazil to continue to invest in its agriculture industry and innovative solutions. I mean, the most mind-blowing for me is how underinvested AgTech is relative. I think it gets less than 5% of the VC dollars in Brazil.
Yes.
And Brazil exports 25% of the world's beef, corn. They're the largest orange juice producer. I mean, it's the world's grocery store, but it seems completely ignored by the technology industry.
Yes. So for me, it's also an amazing and really interesting topic because Brazil, the most important sector by far is agriculture. Brazil relies on agriculture, and we have this geopolitical importance because of agriculture. And I think that why agriculture, it's like what matters for agriculture. And what matters is productivity by hectare and some other stuff as logistic costs. But if you think about truly like productivity per hectare, this is not a problem that is mostly solved by startups. And in agriculture, all over the world is usually being solved by the incumbents. So I usually say that the agriculture market is really tech. You have seen like the whole trend of tech in the agriculture, the mechanization, but this is usually different than other markets. That's driven by the incumbents. So if you think about a company as John Deere, if you think of what they're providing of tech for the farmers in Brazil and all over the world, it's like so impressive. So I think this is like the major influence. And if you think about other big markets, is the ag fintech. And I think there are several interesting companies trying to create something unique on the ag fintech market. But also there is the influence of the Bank of Brazil, which is like by far the major player in the ag fintech market in the region. But there are several interesting companies emerging in the ag tech market. And I'm truly bullish, especially when it involves the fintech side of it. Because I think the other side has been driven by the old school incumbents.
Yeah, I think you're right. There's a ton of opportunity for funding too, right? Because it's such a huge industry and it grows every year. It's been in a secular uptrend for like 20 or 30 years, agriculture in Brazil. So it seems reasonable to think they still need financing. Do you think a part of it is cultural too? Is it that it's just a different region that maybe isn't as tech focused? I mean, Brazil in general, like you mentioned earlier, is extremely heavy tech users, but do you think regionally it's just that where the agriculture is produced just isn't as tech obsessed as Sao Paulo or Rio or the city dwellers?
Yes, I think there is other important factor, which is the concentration index. That if you think like 20% of the farmers probably produce like 80% of the output. And the other farmers, which are not as tech savvy, they are not as focused on using tech. And definitely there's this cultural factor that is really, even if you think, for example, about the go-to-market strategy. How do you go to a farmer that is producing beans in Maranhão? It's super hard. So I think that the go-to-market also is pretty expensive. And so we have not saw yet company thriving in the small and medium farmers in Latin America as a whole. But I think there is, because of the go-to-market, because of the willingness to use tech, as you mentioned. But I think that we are in an inflection moment right now. So I can mention, for example, one company that I'm pretty excited, named Thrive. Thrive is using data to unlock the credit for agricultures all over Brazil. And it's a really, really interesting company that is like truly trying to create impact, because credit in Brazil, it's hard to get for farmers because no one understands, because it has so many complexities all over, by the weather, by the price of the commodities and everything else. So, but definitely it's underinvested. I would truly get more risk on AgTechs.